In this video, we're going to be talking about the ways in which you can have more money in your bank account by changing your spending habits. You might want to start a new side hustle, start your investment journey, or even get on the property ladder. Whatever it may be, I'm going to be talking about the ways in which I've cut back over the years to improve my life. I love tech. I love the latest gadgets, watching tech reviews. I work in technology, and it is always so tempting to upgrade your phone at the end of your contract renewal every year or every 2 years, sometimes 3 years now. But you should really think to yourself, do you need to upgrade that phone? Most smartphones these days work in similar ways. They've all got pretty good cameras. They all function basically the same, and unless there's a fundamental reason for you to change your phone, whether you need it for work or your phone's broken and it's not working as smoothly as it was back in the day, think about whether that needs to be renewed or not. Because I've been in that cycle of falling for the marketing traps and the latest trends of just upgrading your phone whenever that contract renewal comes up. But you could save a lot of money by keeping the same phone and just going for a SIM-only contract. Phones these days, iPhones, Androids, they're in the thousands really for the latest ones, and that could really eat into your annual budget if that is something that you're constantly renewing. I'm into tech, like I said, I work in cybersecurity, and having a good phone is important, but I've had the iPhone 12 Pro now probably for the last 3.5 years, and it's doing the job. The camera's still great, it's working smoothly. I've got enough storage with iCloud nowadays, so there was no real need for me to upgrade. So I definitely recommend you look at your current contract, and when it comes to renewal, have a second thought about whether you should go for that new phone or not, because in the end it probably will save you money by keeping the same one. Subscriptions is an interesting one because a lot of us waste so much money on this, and it's surprising. Of course there are subscriptions that we need every month. Some people love Netflix, and absolutely that's a must for them. The kids want to watch it, that's fine. You've got your Spotify, your podcast subscriptions. There are things that you need to have on a monthly basis and pay for that are coming out of your bank account that you're okay with. But the amount of unused subscriptions that people have and that they're probably unaware of is actually shocking. I read an article recently that showcased how much money people are actually wasting by signing up to free trials and not cancelling the subscription. People are wasting so much money by starting trials and just forgetting about them and then saying, yeah, I'm going to go back and cancel it at the renewal date. But no one does it, right? What I tend to do these days is, as soon as I take out a free trial, if it's something that I just want to test, I instantly go on to my iPhone and I cancel the subscription instantly, and it allows me to use that product for the entirety of that trial. So for the month, for the 2 month, the 60-day period, whatever it is, you're able to still use it during the trial, and then you don't have to worry about cancelling that subscription. So try and be proactive with cancelling them, because I've definitely been in positions back in the day where I look at my monthly statement and I'm like, hang on a minute, why have I got so much money going out, and I didn't cancel this, it's done an annual renewal instead of a monthly renewal, and that's cost me 100 quid. There's so many apps that people try these days that are on free trials, and if you don't renew it, it's going to take the annual fee for it, and people can't be asked really to just go and get that money back, or they just don't simply have the time. So look at your subscriptions, definitely the unused subscriptions, and also monitor the ones that you currently have and see if you can cut back. That is a big money saver at the end of the day. And come the end of the year, you'll see if you cancel that £30 per month subscription, if you cancel that £50 per month subscription, you're saving hundreds if not thousands of pounds in the end. So have a look. Designer brands. Now this is a topic that I think it affects people at different points in their life, and for some people throughout their whole life. I remember back in high school or sixth form wanting to wear the latest designer brands and keeping up with trends just because that person's got this or wearing that, or you've seen on TV someone's wearing this, and you want to keep up with basically fashion, right? But there's an easy way of doing that by not spending money on designer brands that you can't necessarily afford, right? You have to look at the value proposition as well. Like, a lot of these designer brands have just got the label, the tag on it, but the actual quality, the craftsmanship of the product doesn't meet the price tag. And I think that's true for a lot of these big brands. Just because it's got the logo doesn't necessarily mean the product is higher quality. These days, I don't really spend a lot of money on designer brands. Okay, there are certain things shoes or a coat or a bag, whatever it may be that's important to you, you can spend a little bit of extra money on for the quality. But don't fall into the trap of, the market today is, I'm a celebrity and I'm wearing this, so everyone else has to wear it. I mean, just try and think on your own 2 feet and have a plan in mind of how much money you want to spend on certain items, and don't be a sheep. I'd say don't be a sheep in following all of the fashion trends. There's plenty of places you can go online, whatever it is, ASOS or Zara, H&M, these websites, these brands that actually deliver a decent product at a decent price, and you're not spending hundreds or thousands of pounds on clothes that you can't afford to keep up with, trying to follow trends and people that are basically got a budget through the roof, and you don't, and you're trying to follow them and keep up with wearing a Rolex or a fancy watch. Just think about it, because in my opinion, designer brands aren't what they sort of make out to be. There are brands that are good for the products that they deliver, but just look at the value proposition. Next up is living within your means when it comes to property, when it comes to the house or flat that you're renting, or the house that you've bought. Living within your means is something that I've lived by throughout my whole life, and it's something that really affected me when I bought my first house. My wife and I were looking at various different houses in different areas, and there was one house in particular that ticked all of our boxes. It was big enough, it had all of the bedrooms, the big driveway, the garage, the garden. It pretty much looked like a forever home to us, and we could afford to buy that house. We had the deposit ready, and we probably could have made those monthly mortgage payments, but by us buying that house, it was slightly out of budget, and what it meant was we would have to compromise our daily life in the way that we live, the money that we had, accessible to us on a monthly basis. The lifestyle that we were living had to be compromised just because we wanted to buy a forever home now, when at the time we were newlyweds. It wasn't the best idea, and we sort of steered away from it. We bought a house that was within our deposit budget. We looked at the monthly mortgage, the actual outgoings, the bills, how we spend our money on a monthly basis, and aligned it to that. So many people these days are spending money on property and living in a certain way that is outside of their budget, and now they're struggling to keep up with life. They're struggling to maybe pay their bills, or they're struggling to go out and socialize with friends because they just don't have enough disposable money, at their hands, because they've made a poor decision. So I'd say whenever you're looking at buying a new property and renting a new place, stay within that budget. Look at what you can afford, and look how much money you actually need. Evaluate your lifestyle. Look at how much money you spend each month, and try and match that with the outgoing of the accommodation price, the property price. It's really important, and it will save you so much money. I think this is a really, really big one. Come the end of the year, you'll look at how much money you've saved in comparison to maybe making that poor financial decision with that house or that flat that looked really good, and maybe you just couldn't afford it. So have a think about that. I think this one is something we're all guilty of. We all love food. We love eating out at nice restaurants, and we're probably guilty of spending a bit too much money on Deliveroo or Uber Eats, and just eating out too much generally. I mean, I'm a foodie. My wife's a foodie. We all love good food, but how much we're spending on it each month, I think you would probably agree, is a bit too much. You can save a lot of money by just learning how to cook and going to the local supermarket and meal planning your week, and then maybe treating yourself here and there to a takeaway or going out to eat, but not going over the top. I mean, I've had months back in the day where sometimes you just can't be asked. Maybe you're a uni student and you're spending too much money on takeaways, or even if you're living in your own home. Sometimes life just gets in the way. I mean, I worked in London. I mean, I still work in London, but I used to work in London full time, 5 days a week. And the amount of money I spent on coffee, £3-4, in the morning, and then in lunchtime, and then paying for lunch out on top of that, it really added up. And you would think, just a couple of pounds on a coffee, it doesn't make a difference. But you look at the end of the year, how much you spent just on coffee, how much you spent on eating lunch out. It's insane. I then steered away from buying coffees from out. I just used the coffee that was within, the office. For For example, it wasn't as nice, but I still got my caffeine here, and then I started bringing in my own lunches. It allowed me to save a lot more money. And now, obviously living at home, working more from home, still going to the office, but working a lot more from home now, I can save money by, cooking my own food at home and not spending so much on takeaways, and limiting the amount I'm spending on takeaways. Don't get me wrong, I still am guilty of this, but I've cut back, and you can see, it's scary to look, yeah, but have a look at your Uber Eats app, your delivery app, or Just Eat, whatever the app you use. Have a look at your purchase history, your order history, and you'll see your worst month. Have a look at your worst month and then calculate if you would have spent that 12 months in a year, or average that across 12 months in a year. You'll be shocked, and I think you'll reevaluate how much you're spending on eating out, because it will save you a lot of money. Next up is car leasing, or just sort of purchasing a car as a whole. I used to think, how are people who have average lifestyles, average incomes, living fairly humble lives, having the fanciest of cars, like the flashes of BMWs, Mercedes, whatever car it may be, how are they having such a flash car when they don't necessarily have the lifestyle to match that? And obviously we know these days car leasing is so popular, and people are shedding out hundreds if not thousands of pounds each month to maintain a car that doesn't fit their lifestyle and they can't necessarily afford. So think about, before you make this purchase of a new car, of a new lease, it's a healthy investment for a car, right? And it is an important one, but can you afford to be paying 400, 500, 600, 700 pounds a month to maintain a car that maybe was not within your initial financial budget for the year? If you're looking to level up your life, you're looking, by the end of the year, you want to have gotten on that property ladder or started investing in stocks and shares, whatever your goals are, is taking out a car lease going to compromise that? Could you go for a cheaper lease, or could you maybe purchase a car outright that is within your means, not because you're trying to keep up with lifestyle trends and Instagram and TikTok videos that you're seeing people, flash their car or their lifestyle? This one's really important, and I think so many people, especially the younger generation, even the older generation, fall victim to. The amount of money people are shedding out on car leases, sometimes it's even equaling out to the amount people are spending on rent, or that people are spending on a mortgage. You really evaluate this one and sit down. At the end of your car lease, you'll see how much money you actually spent on that lease. If it's in the tens of thousands, whatever it may be, you're going to think to yourself, where's that money gone? Because you're probably not going to keep that car at the end, and that's a depreciating asset. Is it worth it? Is it worth the investment? And it probably isn't, especially if you're someone who's watching this video and they're trying to make better financial decisions to better their life. I'd say definitely have a think about this one. Just a little tip, I would say, before you make any significant purchases that requires, a large amount of your monthly income or your savings, I always say sleep on it. Think about, do you need it? How is it going to affect your life? What's the value proposition of this product? Is it an investment long term? Is it going to better your life? And, if after a couple of days of sleeping on it, it is, the latest phone, the latest camera, the latest watch, if after a couple of days, you think and you've evaluated, actually it is worth it, it's an appreciating asset, it's going to better my life in X, Y, and Z ways, then fair enough, go for it. But don't make impulse purchases, at night when you're scrolling online. Have some research done, have some proper analysis done of your finances before you invest in something that you're going to regret later, and that's going to impact your life, by the end of the year. A lot of people reflect and think, why can't I afford to, go on as many holidays as I want, to travel? Why can't I afford to invest in myself, to buy that latest camera, to start my YouTube journey, for example? The evidence is in your financial statements, it's in your spending, so have a think about that. So these are all the things that I personally have cut back on over the years to save more money and to have more money in my bank account at the end of the year, to ultimately leave me with a lot more money to invest in myself. So let me know whether you resonated with any of these, whether you agree, whether you disagree. Drop something in the comments and let's start a conversation. If you enjoy this video, be sure to subscribe. I have got a lot of different videos coming out in the near future around personal finances, personal development, tech, cybersecurity. Come and join me on the journey. So yeah, don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and speak again soon. Peace.